hello. You just caught me while I'm having a sneaky piece of cake. I know my class know how much I love a piece of cake. Now, it's interesting, this piece of cake that I've got here, because you can bake it and you need lots of different ingredients to put it together. And it's not just about the ingredients that we use to make something, but it's about the units of measure that we also use to make sure that we have the correct things and the correct amounts of things needed to make a delicious cake like this. So let's talk about that first of all. Let's talk about one of the first things we might need, and that would be a weight of something. So dry ingredients like sugar are often weighed. Do you know what measure we use, what unit of measure we use to measure weight? That's right, we use grams or kilograms. Now grams we can signal with. We can note an amount of grams by using a G on the end and an amount of kilograms using a kg. Grams measures a small amount, so if I was weighing out some of the sugar, I would measure it in grams, so I maybe need 200 grams of sugar for my cake. Close enough. Okay, so I'd weigh small amounts using grams, so things like sugar for a cake or other things like flour or butter or things like that, I might measure in grams. If I was measuring something that was heavier, had a bigger weight, like this very big bag of oats, I would measure something heavy in kilograms, something like a big full bag of oats, or even ourselves. If we were weighing ourselves, we might use kilograms to measure that as well. There are 1,000 grams in each kilogram. 1,000 grams in each kilogram. That's a really important fact to remember. So if you were weighing out the sugar and you got up to 999 grams and then you had 1 gram more, you would have 1 kilogram. But grams is not the only thing that we can use and kilograms to measure. Let's have a look at something else. Now, we can also measure liquids, and they're normally measured looking at something called volume. Now, liquids are measured in millilitres and litres. Millilitres are the smaller measures. So something small like a teaspoon of water, if I was looking for a teaspoon of water, something very small to measure, or maybe in the cupboard, maybe a glass of water. If I was measuring that, I would measure a small amount of liquid using millilitres. If I wanted to measure lots of liquid, like a big bottle, I would measure in litres. So a bottle like this, that you might get either water or fizzy drink in, is normally about 2 litres. So you've got big measures in litres and small measures like this in millilitres. Maybe if I just wanted a small amount, I would measure that in small millilitres. Similar to weight and grams, 1,000 millilitres is the same as 1 litre. So if I measured in this is 2 litres, which is the same as 2,000 millilitres. So large amounts of liquid measured, the volume of which is measured in millilitres and litres. Okay, so that's 2 things, quite simple to remember. I'm now going to go on to something tricky. When I've made or put all the ingredients together to make my cake, I need to make sure I've got the right size tin. So I will need to do some measuring of length. So let's have a look at my tape measure here. Now, we measure length quite a lot at school, so we measure length using something like centimetres or millimetres. Millimetres are really small, but almost if you could barely got your fingers together, that would be a millimetre. So something really small would be what I'd measure in millimetres. Centimetres is what I would probably measure this tin in. So something about the size of a book. I'm looking for the right size tin. And I would measure to see that this tin is the right number of centimetres long using my ruler. Rulers that we use at school will often have centimetres and millimetres in. And we recognise those as mm for millimetres, the really small ones, and then a centimetre, which is probably about the width of your finger. Then our sizes get bigger. The next size up, you might have seen these at school as well, is something called 1 metre. And a metre is when we have 100 centimetres together, and you might use metres mixed up with centimetres to measure something like your height. Can't even fit in the screen then. So from this point to this point is 1 metre. So you're measuring quite big things. I might measure the size of this room in metres, something really big. I wouldn't be measuring small things like my tin in metres, that's too big. But something like the height of a door, the height of a grown-up, the length of a room would be measured in metres. And there is even one bigger measure, and that is kilometres. Okay, so millimetres, really small. A centimetre is about the size of your finger, and then a metre is kind of like having your arms apart, so a big measure. Kilometres are really big amounts of measures. They're used to measure really big distances. So if you're measuring in kilometres, you would be measuring maybe distances travelled. The distance from your town to the next town will be quite a good measurement in kilometres. Now, length is quite tricky. So you just have to learn these. 10 millimetres is the same as 1 centimetre, but 100 centimetres is the same as 1 metre, and 1,000 metres is the same as a kilometre. To help you remember, as the measures get bigger, so do the number of things that you can fit in it. So the very smallest millimetres you only need 10, then the middle centimetres you need 100, and then the very big metres you need 1,000. All of these facts are things that you just need to learn for us. So it'd be really good to find a way to help you remember that, whether it's making your own poster to help you remember. So I've weighed out my ingredients using grams or kilograms. I've measured the volume of any of my liquid ingredients using millimetres and litres. And I've measured the length of my tin, probably in centimetres. What do I do once I've finished my delicious cake? Maybe it's something I should have done at the start. I could either sell my delicious cake. I don't think I'd want to do that. Or maybe I needed to buy the ingredients. And to buy the ingredients, I need some money, which means I need some pounds and I need some pence. Okay, pound symbol is quite tricky to draw. It's almost like a capital E with a twirly bit at the bottom and the top. And then the sign for pence is P. And when we're using money, we need to remember that there are 100 pennies in a pound. 100 pennies in a pound. So don't forget that. So this is just a short introduction to all the different types of measure that we can use. It'd be really good to see if you can remember all of those different types and how many pennies are in a pound and how many different measures are in there. Maybe I'm going to give you a quick test. So let's start with weight. How many grams are there in 1 kilogram? Brilliant. There are 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. Well done. How many pennies are there in a pound? Fantastic. 100 pennies in a pound. Okay, next one. How many millilitres in a litre? There are 1,000 millilitres in a litre. Brilliant. I need a bigger hand for this one because there's lots on here. So we're going to start from the bottom this time to see if you can remember. How many metres are in 1 kilometre? There are 1,000 metres in 1 kilometre. Fantastic. How many centimetres are there in 1 metre? There are 100 centimetres in 1 metre. And finally, how many millimetres are there in a centimetre? That's right, there are 10. So your challenge is to try and remember all of these measurements, maybe design a poster to help you remember. Really important. Enjoy. I'm going to get back to this delicious cake. I might just go and make a cup of tea as well. So have fun, enjoy, and I look forward to seeing your posters.